Teddy! Teddy! Come here, boy! Oh, what has gotten into him? Teddy! Teddy, come on now! Teddy, for fuck's sake!
No, this is our fight. We seek only peace. A world free of war and strife. This is why we fight.
The peace we fight for is one in which the Wallister can live as men.
Ambition has poisoned you. It will be your downfall.
You looked a lonely lot. Thought I might join you.
Today I avenge my mother and father. Make peace with your gods, if any will have you.
Lives taken without reason. That's the world we live in.
Always you trust to steal for deliverance. But where has it led us? We are beaten.
No, not yet. Our battle is far from over. We should hurry. Ready the troops. Onward! We take back Almorica!
We only know that you face a formidable foe. We've not heard from one of our companies stationed in Ashton for some time. We believe them responsible.
Why unleash your creations on innocents? This is massacre!
But you're a fool to advance on our front gates.
I did not take you for a thief. Come to stab us in the back.
Man is not so slothful a creature as that. They merely lack our strength.
Even as I ask why we must fight, I accept the inevitability of the coming battle. Let's see whether your false piety can prevail.
I thought your breed of fool long gone from the world.
Nor do I deny that it was a terrible mistake, a weighty sin upon my soul.
This is war, brother. Wheel turns. People die.
There are swifter ways to go about it than soldiering. We fight to live.
Peggy 12.
We thought we knew the world we were born into. We thought we understood the rules. What we know now is that everything can change. Traditions, nations, truths. Nothing is safe in the turmoil between progress and destruction. Here in the streets, we dream of tomorrow.
as in hell they dream of heaven. So we look to you in power to harness this force and write the rules for this new world. What will you envision? What will you dream of? As tomorrow is racing towards us, what world will you build?
Wake up or else. Your prisoners may escape.
We are trapped here. You trapped us in the cage. You bound us with the shackles. But, my dear Chief, our fates are intertwined. No one can escape. This is the last fiesta. Come. We are waiting for you.
Hi, I'm Nolan, a game designer for Dave the Diver. Let's take a look at some gameplay and content in the early access version of our game. Dave the Diver plunges players into an oceanic adventure set in a real marine environment of a blue hole, with over 200 different kinds of sea creatures. Let's take a look at some of the exploration gameplay. Dave will explore the deep sea within this blue hole, and come into contact with all kinds of sea creatures, some for capturing to make sushi, and even some more aggressive sea creatures to be wary of. Some you'll want to avoid, but some may be worth hunting. Some creatures you will befriend, that will set you on new missions to take on. Other peaceful creatures you can engage with in other ways, like taking their picture. Once Dave's long day of diving is over, his night begins, where he takes the fish he captured during the day and sells them as sushi to make money, sometimes to special customers. Dave will work hard running back and forth, serving customers sushi, beer, and even tea. But eventually he's going to need a helping hand. This is where staff comes in to take some of the load off Dave. And to get more money more efficiently, he's going to want to upgrade his dishes with the help of Master Chef Bancho. And here's a glimpse of just one of the bosses Dave will encounter. Unique bosses will come in all shapes and sizes. Fighting bosses won't be like hunting just ordinary fish with his harpoon. To take on big bosses, Dave will want to have the right equipment and the right weapons. Dave will need the help of Weapon Master Duff to get the right weapons for the job. This is where having the right equipment becomes such a vital part of the gameplay, and where the money Dave makes from his nighttime activities become important. The money he makes from selling sushi at the restaurant, he will spend on upgrading his oxygen tank and diving equipment, which he will need to take on various intimidating bosses. Dave will encounter bosses mostly at the end of each chapter. Each boss will have its own unique characteristics and weak points that Dave will have to figure out. Not all bosses are based on strength or brute force though, so you'll need to figure out what makes each boss tick. But crafting weapons and upgrading can definitely give you an advantage. So if you find yourself not fully prepared, you always have the option to retreat, get the right equipment, then come back later when you're fully prepared. We hope you enjoyed a look at the gameplay for Dave the Diver. Early access is out now on Steam, so go check it out. We're really looking forward to any feedback we get from the community, so please share all of your opinions with us.
grimy little hands on the most disgusting game ever made. Garbage Pail Kids, Mad Mike, and the quest for stale gum. Defeat dweebs with diaper-enhanced butt slams. Axe and ooze your way across the globe to recover the secret stale gum recipe before it falls into the wrong hands. 4 playable characters, 6 punishing levels. Use the in-game trading cards to gain devastating abilities. Trade to collect them all. Bonus digital and behind-the-scenes content.
Pooping and farting.
Make politicians puke. Make your grandparents sick. Play the most disgusting retro game never released. If you dare, get Garbage Pail Kids, Mad Mike, and the quest for stale gum digitally now.
We had finished Fallout 3, and we're always like going into the next project, even before the one comes out. And so we had started Skyrim, which everybody knows. And then Fallout 3 comes out, and it was a really, really, big hit for the company. And they're like, okay, so what's the follow-up? And I was like, well, we're doing Skyrim, so it'll be Fallout 4. And there was a push like, well, we could, we have this now. We've made this successful. Let's not let the chance pass by. We should do a big expansion pack or something like that. And are there companies that we could do it? And we knew the folks at Obsidian, and it was sort of immediate. Well, there's only one group that we would really want to do this. And it actually started as a big expansion pack for Fallout 3. And I felt really strongly it should be its own game.
As we started talking with Bethesda about doing Fallout New Vegas, one of the things we needed to do was figure out, well, who was going to run the project, who was going to be the game director. And it was a very, very quick conversation because Josh Sawyer works for us at Obsidian. And it's interesting, he's sort of this second generation of Fallout lovers.
My first exposure to Fallout was in, I think, 1997. It was when the original game came out. I was in college, and I kind of let it take over my life. I thought it was incredible. And I remember going online and reading something about like an evil ending. And I was like, whoa, wait, there's a different ending. And I looked into what was required for it, and it was a really negative karma. So instead of replaying the game, I actually went back through and just like murdered a bunch of people so I could see the evil ending. And so, yeah, I loved it.
It was my responsibility to basically make sure that the Obsidian had what they needed to start that project. We're heads down in Skyrim. We don't have any resources to really be able to help you. We're going to give you everything. So we gave them the entire engine for Fallout 3. We gave them the whole game, all the assets. We gave them everything.
And so my approach was, okay, we're not going to really deviate tremendously from what Bethesda did. Clearly, many, many people liked this game, Fallout 3. So let's look at what we can bring to it that feels unique from our perspective without trying to reinvent the wheel.
How do we make it unique? How do we make it feel like its own game? Doubling down on this idea of you really feel like you are surviving this wasteland. Even to the extent that we put this mode in that when you leave the first building, you're offered to go into survival mode where you can actually, you have to drink water and you have to eat food and drugs do all this extra stuff to you.
And then in terms of the story itself, I really wanted to bring back characters and factions or descendants of characters from the original games and, do the classic Obsidian, presentation of there are these factions that are vying for control you come into the problem and you have to kind of pick a way to go through it and think a lot about your own values and deciding who you want to support or don't want to support.
Caesar's Legion he invented as this group. They're horrible. I mean, they're just horrible.
You are the courier Lord Caesar has spoken of. The slaughter begins then.
But they have a sort of an ethos. They have who they are in this world. And that's how he brought it. He's like, well, I'm gonna let you, if you wanna side with him, you side with him. If you don't, you wanna kill him, kill him. And he kept to that through the whole development. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why people love it so much, is they can go into this Fallout world and just be who they wanna be.
You know, I have a lot of respect for the work that they did on that game. That was really hard to do, to take someone else's engine and technology and tools and build something fantastic with it.
We had started the project in New York, and the game was going to end in Boston. We were going to get you to the Institute. And at that time, we were sort of like, well, do we want to do two locations? We sort of started debating. And then there were all these games coming out that were using New York. And Emil, who's from Boston, you can ask him about this.
I remember Todd Howard looked at me and he's like, I know you probably want the game set in Boston. I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, because he knew I was from Boston. And I'm like, I'm just saying it has probably everything we need, but whatever.
And I think that was great, because I think that New England flavor really sort of gave a certain vibe to the game that was very fresh, very different.
It was their decision. But once that decision was made, I was pretty happy.
The first U.S. subway system was built in Boston.
Well, I'm from South Boston, which is the historically Irish Catholic neighborhood. There's a castle called Fort Independence. I knew that had to be a big place in the game. And so when we made the castle the headquarters of the Minutemen, it was just little touches like that. My high school is in the game, my house is in the game, train station near my house is in the game, like all that sort of stuff. And it's a very personal game to me.
It has that Americana, right? It has like the history of America there, and there's so many great landmarks that you could use, but it's frankly like, they aren't all that well known to a larger place. Like, people don't know the city of Boston the way they may know a New York or somewhere else. And so it was a really good backdrop for the kind of things that we wanted to do. And we always knew we were ending up at the Institute, which people knew was centered up in Boston.
From a combat perspective, I always, and I still feel like the meat and potatoes of any God of War game is combat. My name is Roberto Clemente, and all my friends call me Bert. I'm a senior combat animator here at Sony Santa Monica.
My name is Kim Nguyen, and I'm a gameplay animator.
Hi, I'm Sabra, and I'm a senior VFX artist on God of War Ragnarok.
My name is Grace Pan, and I'm a gameplay animator in God of War Ragnarok.
Hi, I'm Stephen O'Hara, GBA, combat designer on God of War. And I create interesting and memorable creatures that players like to attack and defend against.
As an animator, you gave life to characters. You make them move, you gave them personalities, you gave them weight.
My role as a VFX artist is to put the power behind a move. You are in control of fire and earth and water and wind. Whether you are throwing your axe or on the receiving end of an enemy spell, VFX is what really gives the movement and the danger to every move that a character or enemy makes.
I work really closely with the design team and the tech art team on this project specifically. We actually work a lot with camera, along with the guidance of our great camera team, so I find myself doing fight choreography sometimes.
One of the most challenging parts about being a combat designer isn't the technical implementation of creating a creature, but it's really navigating that line between frustrating and engaging. We want to make something that makes players lean forward and focus and really try hard against that enemy and feel good about overcoming that, but we don't want to make them feel defeated if they can't figure something out.
And then it feels rewarding when you win, not because it was impossible, but because it was fun and engaging.
After the last game, we've heard the community cry out for more mini-bosses, bigger creatures, and enemy variety, and this time we really leaned into that. So in God of War Ragnarok, you're going to be traveling to all 9 realms, and each realm is going to have like its own theme of enemies that are very unique to that space. For example, in Alfheim, we're familiar with the Dark Elves, but this time around we're going to be fighting Light Elves, such as the Light Elf Warrior. One of the key learnings from the last God of War game is we don't have to think about the camera and how close combat is going to feel. We already have that knowledge, so we can build upon the close camera that we have, and we can iterate on enemies, creating more interesting scenarios. In the last game, Atreus was just starting to fight alongside Kratos, and he was learning from the master tactician. So in this game, he's trying to prove himself a little bit more, and we built upon those mechanics with him.
The previous God of War, Atreus was still a kid, right? So he has a lot of dependency on his father. And for this game, you'll see Atreus moving more independently on his own as a companion.
In regards to VFX for Kratos, I think what the players really love is the powerfulness of it. When you are playing as Kratos, you really do feel like the God of War. And moving into Ragnarok, we want to really make something bigger, make it stronger, make it more of a spectacle. You want them to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that the Blades of Chaos could get even better, but look at that.
So as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and newer abilities that will increase the combat depth of each weapon. For the Blades, one of the moves that I've really enjoyed from previous God of Wars is the combat grapple, and we're going to be bringing that with a new twist.
I'm very excited for players to try the blade grapple traversal moves. That brings so much more speed into the movement and the dynamic feel to it.
One of the ways we've expanded Kratos combat this time around is we've given more utility and choice to the shield loadout.
If you are a parry person, you could really go for a shield that gears towards parrying. If you're a big blocker, then you could choose a shield that will really match your playstyle.
One new mechanic or element that I'm really excited about is these combo finishers. Building up the stun meter this time around is going to lead to different ways to basically decapitate the enemy.
You're going to be able to choose, which weapon you want to have when you kill a guy. Another feature that we've added for Kratos is his new pre-fall attacks. So you could jump off a ledge, and if there's an enemy below you, you could slam down on him.
There's such an emphasis on verticality in some of these fights that it's super engaging. And as Kratos, now that you have so much mobility and that you can also take advantage of that verticality, I think it just adds such another interesting layer to a fight.
In God of War Ragnarok, we've enhanced the Kratos and Atreus duo. He's going to initiate a little bit more, be aggressive. He's going to fight alongside you, and sometimes even surprise you with his combo abilities too.
Some of the new expanded companion actions that you'll see Atreus do leverage the fact that he's older now, he's bigger now. And he's different from Kratos, so his magic has a different flavor.
Not only that they fight side by side together, there are also a lot of mini games and player interaction moments. For example, like the puzzle systems and the set pieces. You definitely will see a lot more collaborations between father and son.
Odin must have said that!
There's so much that goes into building a big set piece. You basically iterate and iterate and iterate, and it takes testing and just seeing what works to really figure out the personality of something. Basically, every department gives it their all to make things really spectacular. There were a lot of different times that I would look back at God of War games just through the ages before 2018. There were so many amazing, huge boss fights and set pieces that it was a huge inspiration for me on my time on this project.
For the Old Father!
Our design philosophy for creating new and memorable enemies is basically making them a combat puzzle, similar to like chess, and focusing on the chess pieces. Each piece has its own theme and its own use.
You need to be able to see what's happening in an instant and be able to react as the player.
There's a couple of different ways that we go into making an attack very readable for the player. Sometimes we add a signature audio cue, or we'll add the different rings, such as what we did in the last game, that lets you know that this attack is unblockable, you need to dodge it.
There's so many different ways that the effects really helps not just show what an enemy is about to do, but show who the enemy really is.
Everything you design has to be surrounding the essence of the character and a story. It's what makes it believable and memorable in the first place.
I think what I'm most excited about is for players to experience the diversity of enemies that this game has to offer. You will be fighting everything from small little creatures to things that will take up the entire screen.
All of their designs run the gamut. I think each one looks so much different from the next one, and each of them have their own play styles and their own little fantasies that go into it. And so I think if you are really into Norse mythology, you'll be very interested to see how Sony Santa Monica has taken some of these creatures and interpreted them for God of War.
Everything that goes into the game, there's emotion behind it and intent behind it, and by the time it gets to you, everything that you've seen that you're going to play and experience has been sweated over, bled over, tested, and is fun to play.
Peggy 16.
An unforgettable tale of friendship, family, and farming. Story of Seasons, a wonderful life. Welcome to Forgotten Valley, a tranquil community far from the city. This is your new start. A fertile land to grow crops and care for animals. A vibrant valley with mystical woodland, ancient ruins, and abundant gifts from nature. A community of friendly faces to help you find your feet. Life is about the people you meet. that you fall in love with, that you start a family with. It's full of happy moments, and some sad ones too. Guide your child as they forge their own path. Spend time with family. Grow together. Say farewells. Make memories that last a lifetime. Welcome back to a beloved farming classic. Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life.
Marvelous!